Is Bitcoin going to $70,000? Is it going to $100,000? Well, I have many reasons to believe we are. I also have many reasons to believe that we are in the very last phase before we go completely parabolic. So in this video, I'm going to cover in sequential order the key events that I believe are shaping us up to reaching 70,000 and very soon $100,000 Bitcoin. So without further ado, let us jump into it. All right, so as you can see on my screen, Bitcoin is currently hovering at about $65,000. This is pretty huge, and many believe, as I will break down in about a few minutes, that we are literally in the very last phase before we get to 70,000 and then 100,000. Let us take a quick look at how the general market is doing, the altcoins. We know that there is a lot happening on the macro level. We know that China has recently been printing, and I believe there's a really big shift happening in the world. I personally have reason to believe that the old world, Web 2, as we call it in crypto, is using the last of their ability to print money to then roll it into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. That's a personal suspicion, but we will let the cards unfold. Next, what is supporting us as we're breaking out of this sideways trend that we have been in for weeks now? We know that Bitcoin has been recently down in the last couple weeks because we know that Germany was selling in masses. They were dumping their Bitcoin, which is a huge mistake because, as you can see on the screen, Germany sold all of their Bitcoin for $54,000. If they had waited just 2 more days, which is indicative of what's to come, right? Because we're not even in the parabolic phase of this bull run. But say they had waited just 2 more days, they could have made an extra $3.3 billion. Not millions, $1 billion. So if this is a price difference that Germany experienced in 2 days, can you imagine how much more our gains and the countries and the biggest holders of Bitcoin will be making in this next month, 2 months, and definitely before the end of the year? Because we know that many of the top crypto analysts, some of the biggest crypto investors, those that have been here for multiple cycles, those who understand, what fundamentally moves the macro markets and therefore moves the crypto market and Bitcoin, they believe it's happening, that we are going to go parabolic by the end of the year. It could happen sooner, as we will see in a few minutes, but it's happening, right? So the point is that Germany has stopped selling. We know that Larry Fink recently went on, I think it was CNBC, and whereas he was the biggest doubter before, he now publicly declared that he had made a mistake. We'll see that here in this article, but that's what it says. BlackRock's Larry Fink says he was wrong and calls Bitcoin digital gold. Let's scroll down. This is what he says. If you can see on my screen, it says, it's a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to maybe have uncorrelated types of returns. I believe it's an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It's an instrument when you believe countries are debasing your currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. Let's listen to what he had to say.
But been a leader in willing to embrace crypto. You have made it so that people can be in Bitcoin. We hear that you are thinking about Ethereum. These are incredible things. Now BlackRock is not known as a gunslinger by any means. So you obviously must believe that this maybe is an alternative. Is this an alternative in order to be able, because of a deficit, maybe something long-term people should have?
Absolutely. As you know, I was a skeptic.
See?
Yes. I was a proud skeptic.
Yeah.
And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else.
Right.
But it is
Thank
a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're...
See? And you read the rest a minute ago on my screen. But if we have Larry Fink saying this, and think about it, who listens to Larry Fink? Who are the top investors, right? Who does BlackRock invest for? See right here, it says the head of $10.6 trillion asset management firm, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. Okay, the types of investors that invest in BlackRock and let Larry Fink help diversify and invest for them are your traditional investors. This is old money. These are people that are of your parents' generation, or if you are of my parents' generation, then you would understand this more than anybody. Like, let's think about the repercussion of somebody like Larry Fink in the position that he's in saying this. The repercussion is enormous. So I believe this is setting off a little tidal wave within the traditional financial world. So it's really, really huge. And then I really admire the fact that he's willing to own and admit that he was wrong. Even if he was wrong for 5 years, public figure, who cares? I respect that. I think we should all be able to change our minds with, in doing our own research, as we say in crypto, do your own research, DYOR, right? But we should be allowed to do that. And I have huge respect for him for announcing this publicly and owning that he made a mistake. I think it goes a really long way. So next, why else can we know and be confident? Okay, maybe not know 100%, but reading the signs, right? Connecting the dots. We know that Germany has stopped selling, right? Next, we know that Larry Fink from traditional finance, right, is calling Bitcoin digital gold, right? So that's another bullish reason. Next, we know that, as we can see on our screen, right, Mount Gox, like pretty much no one's sweating it anymore, right? Everyone was freaking out because money was being moved out of it. Everyone was terrified. People who had their money pent up for I think it was 10 years were selling. But what the markets have shown us time and time again, as I will show you on the next screen, is that the crypto market, those that are in the market, know they're smart money. And they have been buying up all this Bitcoin coming into the market. And it's just amazing because despite their mass sell-off, the crypto market has really revealed that there's real buy pressure. There is real interest, and it really shows how the crypto market has matured. As you can see on my screen, I highlighted it for you, but it says the distribution of 65,000 BTC, an approximate 1.95 billion at current prices, that was sold off because of Mt. Gox, right, could potentially be absorbed by the market over a period of a couple weeks without causing severe disruptions, assuming the liquidations are done gradually and across multiple exchanges, right? So this is what is very important to read here. It says these findings, however, are only suggestive of the depth and maturity of the BTC market, of the Bitcoin market, but should assuage, I don't know this word, I imagine it's French, fears of liquidity shortage in the near term. So this is extremely bullish. And once again, the fact that, see, as you can see here, as Germany's Bitcoin sales are behind, crypto investors mull how much of the 9 billion Bitcoin could be distributed to creditors will be dumped on the market to capitalize on the asset's appreciation after 10 years of waiting, right? So while everyone's thinking about it and speculating about it, it's incredible because the crypto market has just been buying it up, right? So in many ways, the fact that Bitcoin has been down, it's basically just been price suppression, right? It's not been a real indicator of how the crypto market's doing, right? Or the real interest or the real mass adoption, because we know that it has been completely at all-time highs, really. And next, what is extremely exciting is that if we were to look, and we are to look at the 6-month bar chart of Bitcoin, we would see that we are going into one of the, like a big green candle, a big pump. And I will let Ivan on Tech explain this to us. Let's take a listen.
Now, what's important to realize here is that we are seeing all kinds of factors. Well, factor number one is just the similarity that this cycle has to 2017. When you look at this chart, this is the 6-month chart. Each candle is 6 months. This is basically exactly like we did see right here, where we had a few, basically this a few candles of red, 1.5 year of bear market, and then very nice 5 green candles. Here we had 2 candles of red, and now we are on our 4th candle in the bull market, which recently just started right now. And this is going to be so interesting to see, because basically, if we repeat, you see that the biggest candle is going to be this one, like this 6 months until the end of the year. And then another fat one, even bigger one afterwards. So if 2017 is to repeat with 5 green candles, we are currently on the 4th one, and the 4th and 5th are the biggest one. Also, look here, we have China.
And then as he's segueing into right now, but you see, that is what is so amazing, is that we are still following historical trends. And right now, based on this historical chart, as he was covering a moment ago, and as I was showing you, we are going into, according to our previous pattern, we are going into a big green candle motion up. So that's the next reason I'm extremely bullish. But also, as you can see here through Rect Capital, and they're extremely respectable, right? They basically break down to us the phase that we're in, which is the reaccumulation range, right? And we have officially reclaimed it. So once again, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. And the fact that we are following in the 2017 pattern is extremely bullish. Next, we know that China has been printing basically liquidity like the US has, quantitative easing. And we know that because China is so huge, right? If China, much like the US, right, if they print money, then that's obviously going to pump the whole market, the whole macro market at large. And that is what we see, right? It's a stimulus from the People's Bank of China has moved up to more than $100 billion this week. So this is pretty huge, and it's having a pretty huge effect on the macro markets at large. As you can see on my screen, the NASDAQ is at all-time highs, and we know that Bitcoin, or the crypto market, always mirrors, right? It hasn't decoupled, right? Like a couple means together, right? Well, up until now, Bitcoin and the crypto market have been following the NASDAQ, right? Or like the traditional stock market, the S&P 500. So now that we see that the NASDAQ is at all-time highs, we know, or we have very good reason to believe, that the Bitcoin market, and consequently the altcoin market, because it always follows after Bitcoin, are also going to pump. So that's another reason I wanted to bring you guys this news, is because I just really wanted to show you how all the cards are lining up, right? Which gives us this should give you extreme faith and excitement in that the crypto market is going to pump and your bags are going to pump because of it. Next, we know what happened in the last few days. I literally was boarding a plane within like 5 hours of this news. But so I wasn't able to cover it for you because it was an extremely long flight. I was like going around the world, literally. But we know what happened. We know that there was an assassination attempt on former president and hopefully future president Donald Trump. It was horrible. I actually have a video I want to show you guys on what happened. But look, this is how close of a call. This isn't like a 3D rendering of how close, right? It's a computer model. It's a computer model showing like how close, and many are calling it like divine intervention. And if you see this video, you can see how he literally turned his head at the last minute.
Take a look what
Look,
happened.
he turns his head just as the bullet goes by. Wow.
Take a look.
Like if he hadn't turned his head just in time, that would have been his brain. So you don't have to believe in divine intervention, but it's really hard. It's really hard not to believe there was some sort of incredible coincidence at play. Thankfully, he did not die. And you probably have been keeping up with it, but there have been so many accusing Biden's administration. And I don't want to get into that, as much as possible. I want to keep my channel unbiased. But if there are many reasons to believe something, then I feel also the duty to bring it to you, right? So that is what happened over the weekend. And since then, what's incredible is, as you will hear in this video, and I'm so happy, I think, what is her name? Haley. You'll hear her right now. But these are all like I believe they're all former presidential candidates that didn't make it into the final round. But they're all backing Trump now, which says a lot. They're all backing him. And, despite them trying to take Trump out, and you don't have to like him, as you'll hear at the very end of this little snippet that I'm going to play for you. You don't have to like him, but you do have to acknowledge that, and I know many of you may be clicking away now, and I hope you don't. I hope you just listen to this, right? Because the truth is that the quality of America and the respect that we have had, despite, some of America's mistakes, trust me, I'm a philosophy major, so that's like a glorified history major and literature major. Like I know what the U.S. has done. Throughout the centuries, I know that we have not had the best reputation. Trust me, I really understand where so many may have, disgust or feel no respect towards the U.S. But the truth is that the U.S. has always stood for freedom and for innovation, and has been a country that has offered this opportunity to the world. And throughout the years, and unfortunately throughout the recent presidency of Joe Biden, it seems like literally the last bit of quality behind the American flag has just been ripped away from it, or has just been drained. It's been so sad. I literally just spent the last 2 months in the US after 4.5 years. And I cannot tell you, it's literally like the YouTube videos that you see where there's like homeless people everywhere, they have the rights to, fill our streets and terrify the tax-paying citizens that do pay their taxes. And it's literally unbelievable what's happening in the US. I won't make this a political rant, but the point is that I'm so happy that Trump, despite anything that he may have done that has been offensive to any of you or to myself, the point is that he's fighting for what has always made America great, and that is freedom, innovation, our markets, protecting our nation. I mean, it's like protecting your home, right? Like, you may love the homeless people and want to take care of them, but are you going to let every single homeless person into your house? No. Why? Because it might like destroy your house, right? They might hurt your children. There's limits, and there should be limits and ways in which we help each other that doesn't jeopardize our own safety. And anyway, long story short, I just love this speech. And at the very end, I just want you to catch I forget her name, like Haley something, what she says about Trump, which I agree with.
And when Donald Trump is president, we will fix it.
This part.
100% of the time. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend attorney's president.
I'll pause it there. But I hope you caught the last part. Anyway, moving on to some more bullish news, we also know that Donald Trump nominated his vice president, JD Vance, who, after doing much research on him, is a self-made man, someone who was very much so anti-Trump, but after meeting him and actually meeting his son, that's how the connection happened, you know, and JD Vance making a stance on many controversial policies that Biden was rolling out, Trump decided, you know, they made the connection. Trump decided, you know, he aligned. They forged this relationship. But what I also respect about JD Vance and about this whole situation is that he was anti-Trump, very much so vocal about it, until he realized that he was aligned on a fundamental level with Donald Trump and his policies. And I really appreciate how Donald Trump, despite JD Vance previously speaking out against him, they were still able to see each other and come to an agreement and to an alignment and realizing that they were a good team for this country. So I'm just very, very excited that JD Vance is going to be his vice president because he's extremely pro Bitcoin, pro crypto. We actually know that a few years ago, I think it was in 2021, sorry, he declared publicly or like announced, somehow disclosed that he held like 201, what is it? Bitcoin or 1,000 Bitcoin, something like that. You can quote, you don't have to quote my numbers for like exactly, but the point is that he has been a longtime crypto holder, extremely pro Bitcoin, and we know that Trump has spoken about you know, his desires to have the US dollar be backed by Bitcoin, which would be tremendous because we know that the US dollar has been losing its value. Up to date, it has lost, well, I think in the last couple of years, it's lost about 25%, if I'm not mistaken, of its value purchasing power, which is terrifying. We've all seen this at the grocery store and at the gas pump. The US dollar is not worth very much. I saw this firsthand the last couple months in the US, which was like shocking. I'm not going to lie. I was quite shocked at the prices, at the empty stores. Man, so this would be incredible, absolutely incredible for the United States if and when I believe at this point Donald Trump is going to be the president. I absolutely believe it. We know that the polls also show it, and now he's nominated a wonderful vice president, and this is what he had to say too, you know, and this is why, you know, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist saying that, oh, it was the Biden administration behind the assassination attempt on Trump, but listen to what JD Vance has to say, and he's a senator, so he's not even like, he's not allowed, like according to his role as senator, he's not even allowed to make outrageous statements, you know, like he's very much so held accountable for every word he says as senator. And this is what he says, you know, about the attempted assassination. He said, "Today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign, right, or the like central reason is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs." I saw so many videos while I was flying over here across the world of multiple times, like snippets throughout news, like look it up, don't take my word for it, of multiple times that Biden or Kamala Harris or multiple news anchors or different, you know, Democratic voices and people in like respectable positions and in like important roles within the Democratic Party representing Biden have used language like this, saying that Donald Trump must be stopped, you know, and at all costs. And actually, I think it was today, I don't have it to show you, unfortunately, I'm so sorry, but once again, check my information. But apparently the Secret Service knew, like they were alerted, I think it was like, I don't want to say hour, it was like several minutes, like definitely several minutes before, you know, before it happened. But they turned a blind eye, which means that they were not given the green light to take this man down, to take the shooter down. That means they sat on the information and did nothing. Nothing. Why? because someone from the top must have not given them the green light. So you don't want to pin it on Biden, and I'm not going that far as to say it, but JD Vance, okay, he's going to be the future vice president. He is going as far as saying that this kind of looks like them, right? That's what he says here. It says that rhetoric, right, led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. Why? Because either they had a direct role, or the language they have used in saying that Donald Trump must be stopped at all costs led those that support them to feel like they had to help stop Donald Trump at all costs, right? Because that's the power you have as a leader. And that's why I also want to be careful in what I'm saying, because I know I'm now also in this position. But incredible. So let's just, for a second, let's get to know, right? Like, who is this JD Vance? Like, let's just listen for a few minutes.
What was the Russia collusion hoax? It was about destroying Donald Trump. This ridiculous New York fraud case, it's about destroying the guy's wealth before he re-enters the Oval Office.
Well, that's good to see you, man. Thank you.
He is really a bet on the future as well, a bet on the future of the Republican Party and a bet on the future of the populist conservative movement. Trump would never say he's anointing a successor, but Vance was decades younger than the other potential picks that were under consideration for vice president. And in choosing such a young person to be on the ticket with him, there's an unavoidable implication that Trump has sort of chosen an heir, chosen someone to take the mantle of that MAGA movement and go forward with it, whether it's as a future president himself or simply as someone who is poised to exert great influence in the Republican Party, continuing to shape.
I'll pause there, right? Because as you heard, now there's speculation that, which would be positive in my perspective, that Trump in many ways is positioning a successor, right? And not so much the person in as much as the ideology, right? Because Trump is trying to make America great again. He's trying to protect our borders again. He's trying to, bring in Bitcoin mining to the US. He's trying to bring crypto entrepreneurs back into the US, lower the taxes. He's trying to fix the economy, right? He's trying to denominate the US dollar in Bitcoin. Like he's really trying to fix the US. He did this his last presidential term, so we have every reason to believe he'll do it again. And what a strategic way to guarantee the continuation of this job, really, than to nominate a vice president who's young enough and positioned perfectly to become the next president. So we may very well be looking at the next president, which will be awesome for our markets, right? Because ultimately, that is why we care to vote. You don't have to like him, but do we want our nation to go down the drain? Do we want it to go to garbage? No, we don't, right? And that's why it's important to vote. Like, I might be going back to the US in November just to vote. Next, this is just some additional news and how can I say it, and confirmation of why you should potentially consider voting for Trump, right? Because we have the co-founder of A16Z, which is one of the biggest incubators in the crypto and traditional world. And they said, and this is what he says, right? He says that while he's been traditionally a Democrat for almost all of his life, he will be supporting Trump in this presidential election. See, so it's so amazing. Like throughout this whole video, I hope you're catching on to what is happening. We have people that have been traditionally on the Democrat side, right? Or anti-Trump, as we saw in JD Vance, the nominated vice president, okay? We're seeing so many people that have been against Trump all of a sudden now changing their mind. Or people like Larry Fink that have for 5 years been hating on Bitcoin, calling, saying it's not real, like they're not going to offer it to their clients. All of a sudden him admitting openly that he was wrong. Like you have so much change in the air. Like if we could like lick our finger and put our finger up in the air, there's so much change happening in the air. Like I believe we're entering a beautiful, beautiful new era where it's not the end of the world. It's literally like an actual reset in the best way, not in the conspiratorial, like population control way, but we're actually entering into an era of the great reset, and we all have a role to play in it. And it's just like tremendously exciting. Like I cannot tell you like So, so exciting. And just as like a little final note before we end this, it's very interesting because it just came from Austin, Texas. I love Austin, Texas. Apparently, Elon Musk confirmed that he'll be moving the headquarters of X, like X's headquarters, like Twitter's headquarters, out of San Francisco, California to Austin, Texas. Why? This comes after a lot of controversial news and updates, but I guess now, like the state of California is like, they've been changing their policies more and more and more. And I guess now, like kids at school don't even have to, like parents or the school don't even have to notify the parents if their kids want to go by a different gender or want to be considered a different gender. Like parents are losing more and more control. California, which I also love, by the way, I love that state. It's so gorgeous, has the best weather ever. But unfortunately, something is out of control there and people are leaving. You know, taxes are so high there. Like I know most of Hollywood, like a lot of Hollywood's moving to Austin. We know Joe Rogan moved to Austin. So anyway, seems like Austin is where everyone's migrating to. But anyway, guys, just some quick alpha. I believe it's all going to be about, like, not all. We know AI is a hot narrative. We know real world assets are a huge narrative. I'm all about Pipicoin and based AI. I eavesdropped on a call with the founders of Based AI, and they're working on a lot, like to a point to where I felt like going and buying some more. So I'm just going to say that. But I believe outside of that, in terms of memes, like Trump coins are going to do amazing because if he becomes president, that's going to be 4 years of Trump in the news, Trump this, Trump that. So what do you think is going to happen with any Trump meme coin, right? And I'd show you the charts, but everything's been up with Trump almost. And now apparently he announces he's going to be dropping a new NFT collection on Polygon, which is a little dated, but it's going to happen nevertheless. So if you want to get in on some action, you can consider going and checking it out. It's not financial advice, but I thought I would let you know. And then finally, we'll end it on this note. This is all of us right now. This is how we feel in the crypto market. Just many hugs and we're back. That is it for today's video. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm going to start making videos every day for you now that I'm back home. I missed you guys very much, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to make more content for you, but I'm back now. So anyway, sending much love. I'm happy the markets are pumping again. It's definitely time. Don't miss the boat to go stock up on all your favorite crypto tokens. We're going to get into a lot more detail this week on tutorials and top tokens that I believe, well, let's just put it this way. I'm going to share the ones I'm investing in, and I'll do a full disclosure on whether or not, you know, I'm being sponsored or whatnot, or any of those details, so that you know why I'm sharing them with you. I'll explain why I'm sharing them with you. But anyway, that said, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Ciao.